From Southern California, this is The Circle of Insight, a show about everything in psychology. Hear the latest in news and views on psychology. Our motto is simple: wherever there is psychology involved, we are there. And now, here's your host of The Circle of Insight, Carlos Vasquez.
From wherever you are around the world, welcome and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be exploring celebrity worship with Dr. James Houran. He is a clinical psychologist and an expert in pop culture. He has written a wonderful book called Celebrity Worship. He's also written a book called Hauntings and Poltergeists, Multidisciplinary Perspectives with a Multidisciplinary Perspective. Let me get that right. Welcome to the Circle, Dr. Houran.
Thank you so much.
So this is a really fascinating topic. I always been fond of celebrities and Hollywood. I think it's an amazing facet of psychology to look at and explore. And we're going to take a different look at it. We're going to look at why we on the outside are so enamored by these celebrities. So
Right.
I guess my first question is, why did you write the book? And give us a little bit of information.
The book was an accident, actually. It was the culmination of a lot of research that I had conducted with a panel of friends, other psychologists who were interested in the topic, but from different perspectives. I was brought in actually rather late. I was working at a medical school, so I was dealing with people that were suffering from hallucinations and delusions, and one of the people on the team was interested specifically in celebrities and why do people get so enamored with these individuals that we don't know. We think we know them, but we really don't. And he thought that there might have been a psychiatric or a delusional component to the whole question. So he brought me into the team, and we've been doing research for over 10 years and really have learned quite a lot about this whole realm of celebrity worship.
So I guess the first question is, why do we treat these people almost like a religious icon?
Yeah, we do. That's the million-dollar question. I wish we had a million-dollar answer.
Show's over
we
then.
don't.
All right.
We don't, but we have a good understanding, a better understanding than we have. And you know, what it boils down to is this. Human beings have always been hardwired to worship something. And in early society, we tended to look up to and want to imitate people that stood out in society and were very successful. In early human terms, that meant people that were the best hunters, the best gatherers, people that were beautiful, people that truly stood out from everybody else. And if we could copy what they were doing, we might be successful as well. And when you now come with evolution into more modern times, that's never left us. It's still hardwired in us to look up to people that we see as successful, to try to copy them and have similar success in our lives. Doesn't always work out that way, but that gene, that urge is still there.
So let me see, I'm going to try to explore this psychologically. If we see somebody, I'm trying to think of who I worship, I guess, as a celebrity. I'll say Clint Eastwood for now, but if I'm looking at Clint Eastwood, is this Carlos who wants to be Clint Eastwood, but since he can't, by worshiping him, he actually kind of introjects some of Eastwood into himself?
That's a good way of looking at it. It's very simplistic and a casual way of looking at it, but it's not too far off. The way that people form an attachment to celebrities is very personal. The exact celebrity that we choose, whether it's a sports figure, a musician, an actor, maybe even a socio-political or religious figure we have some sort of a connection with. The exact type of celebrity that we choose is very idiosyncratic. But regardless of the person itself or himself, we know that the process is the same. And there is a melding of identities. Yes, you're hoping that there's something you can learn from Clint Eastwood, and likewise, Clint Eastwood fulfills something in you that you can't get from family or friends. I can't tell you what that is, and if I put you on the couch, I'll have to charge you money, but I can tell you, yeah, there is something deep under the level that goes beyond just, I like Clint Eastwood in movies.
Now, just to clarify, I do not go walking around saying, make my day to people, but
That's
that's a good thing, huh? Now, your book, the thing I love about your books is you're very thorough. And you looked at the historical side, the psychological side, the sociological side. Can we touch a little bit upon what you found in those areas?
Absolutely. It's amazing how, regardless of what angle or facet you look at celebrity worship, you sort of come to the same conclusion. And that is, there's a stalker in all of us. Now, that's good news and bad news, but we tend to think of as these stalkers or these fanatics, where the word fan comes from, fanatic, as people that are mentally ill, lonely, desperate individuals that are completely removed from the rest of population and are certainly not like us. When you look at the problem historically, when you look at it psychologically, from an evolutionary standpoint, you realize that there are not two groups of fans. There's one group, and they're on a continuum. That we all have a stalker within us. That's good news and that's bad news. It's bad news in the sense that given the right set of circumstances, I believe that we can all be pushed too far in our admiration for celebrities. On the good front, though, that also means that people don't start off being stalkers. They start off at more benign levels, and over time, given certain circumstances, it goes to more extreme forms. But we can intervene. If we knew where a person is along the continuum, we have a good idea of what we could do to insert ourselves so it doesn't get to be to the point where we're dealing with pathology.
Now, I got a couple of questions. That always happens to me on the show here.
Okay.
One of them is going to be, is it inherent? Do you think it's something that's part of us as humans?
Yes. Short answer is yes. We are hardwired to worship something, and celebrities are a very obvious thing to want to copy. We look up to them for the very fact that they are successful in some way, and human beings want to copy that success. We want to be popular. We want to have financial success. We want to have security. So we try to look to people that have what we want.
Hi, welcome to Adelante. This is Adelante Recovery, and my name is Yvette Kuglin, and I'm part of the staff.
Adelante Recovery Center has helped people in dual diagnosis for 5 years. We accept most PPO insurances and provide luxury accommodations and 24-hour support. To speak with an admissions counselor, call 1-888-242-4450.
A lot of time we don't even know what's wrong with us, and sometimes we need to get away to figure that out. So if you want to go for a little retreat out in Corona Del Mar, which is a confidential location, we're here to help. So we're only a phone call away. Thank you.
In your book, you mentioned there's like a stage going from a healthy respect to an unhealthy preoccupation with them. What would you consider an unhealthy preoccupation with the celebrity?
I would probably say it happens at the second stage. That's the beginnings of it. And before we get to the second stage, I perhaps should explain the first stage, which we call the entertainment social stage or phase. This is where actually celebrity worship is healthy, and we're all at this stage to some degree. If you live in, Western culture and you have a pulse, you are somewhere in this stage. This is where we look up to celebrities for escapism or entertainment. And it can be healthy because it can bring people together. People watching shows on TV, people going to sports events together, people part of fan clubs. It actually is a way that builds social connections around people that we can have relationships with. So it's called entertainment social phase because it's voluntary. We get a sense of escapism and entertainment, but then we can put it down. We can walk away. So it's something that we use in a transient way. And we all start at this phase. But at more extreme forms, we get to a second stage, which we call the intense personal stage. And this is where it gets to be more involuntary. In our questionnaire that we use to research the phenomenon, we know people reach this stage because they start endorsing survey questions like this. I have frequent thoughts about my favorite celebrity, even when I don't want to. So it stops being voluntary and people now start drifting and thinking about and having a relationship in their mind with these individuals, and you start seeing them withdraw from family and friends. At that stage, it starts to have the underpinnings of pathology. It's not full-blown yet, these are not stalkers, but people now shift their attention and their affection from real relationships to these illusionary figures, celebrities. Then at more extreme forms, you even see it get worse, to where we call the borderline pathological stage. This is where people not only feel and believe they're in a personal relationship with a celebrity. In other words, they feel an emotional attachment to somebody they don't really know. But now they start acting on that belief. People at this stage, they'll endorse questionnaire statements like, if my favorite celebrity asked me to do something illegal as a favor, I would probably do it. So it's no longer just a belief, it's no longer private. Now people start acting impulsively and publicly on that belief. And that's where you start seeing more extreme forms like people having shrines, people stalking, people spending a lot of time on the internet or trying to actually meet their favorite celebrity. A lot of times people even go into debt buying memorabilia so they can feel closer to that favorite celebrity.
Wow. Is there a general lack of a need in these individuals? Is it a low self-esteem? Is it a weak ego? Is there anything that's a resonating theme with these individuals that have gone to the pathology side?
There's a lot of correlations between certain psychosocial variables. We know if people are going through some sort of change that disrupts their identity. It could be a divorce. It could be they lose their job. Something that causes them to self-reflect on where they are in their life and what they want for themselves. That's a risk factor. People that have certain personality traits that are very impulsive, very narcissistic, where everything has to relate to them. That's a risk factor. People that have poor body image, believe it or not, especially in women, that correlates with higher levels of celebrity worship. And of course, we've always known that age is a correlation as well. Typically younger people that are going through normal course of identity development, teenagers, adolescents, these people are natural to be susceptible to the glamour of celebrities and trying to copy with what they're doing, with how they're behaving and what they're buying and how they're handling their life. So absolutely there are some correlations there. But these are not necessarily lonely, desperate individuals. We know that they have friends and family, but for whatever reason, especially at those really extreme levels, they feel disconnected from their social milieu. They want to have relationships. They want to be grounded. They want to feel connected. But for some reason, they can't get that in their immediate real life, so they seek it elsewhere.
Did you see any distinctions between genders?
Well, now you're giving me a loaded question there. At its more extreme forms, no. It affects men and women more or less equally. At lower levels of celebrity worship, you actually see men more involved than women. But when it comes to more extreme forms, you might see women a little bit more susceptible to it just because there's a lot of, I would say, more social pressures on women, and that can help push someone from the more benign forms to the more extreme forms.
And this, I guess this will be sometimes what we call the fastball question here.
Okay.
Is it possible, and I don't know if you explored this in your studies, is it possible to divide when a man worships a female celebrity, we'll say, is it possible to divide what is a pathology in worshiping them, or maybe just a pathology sexually worshiping them? Or is that both in the same? I'm not sure if I even made that fastball clear enough.
No, you did. In fact, there's an entire clinical disorder where people feel that they are in a romantic or sexual relationship with a celebrity figure, or at least a high-profile figure. It's called erotomania. And there are some parallels between the attitudes and behaviors that go along with erotomania, which is a delusional disorder, as well as celebrity worship. But you don't have to have a mental illness to be susceptible to celebrity worship. And just because you may have extreme forms of this celebrity worship doesn't mean you're mentally ill in the classical or traditional sense. And in fact, we see men that feel just as connected to male celebrities and females to female celebrities as there is any sort of crossover. In fact, a lot of popular celebrities, one, are not necessarily the most classically attractive individuals, and two, they're not always alive, where people feel they even could have a liaison at all. So deceased celebrities, those more iconic figures like a John Lennon or an Elvis Presley, are just as popular today as they were when they were alive.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you so much, Dr. Houran, for being on the show.
My pleasure.
It was a great thing. It made my day. No pun intended. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember, our motto is simple. Wherever there's psychology involved, we are there. And before I go, actually, Dr. James Houran, you want to get his book, Celebrity Worship. You also want to get his other book, Hauntings and Poltergeists. I recommend both of them. Our next upcoming show with Dr. Houran is going to be Paranormal Meets Science. So you don't want to miss that. See you next time, everyone.